Hey, stop posting and start broadcasting the way the real first family did 60 years before you had these tools. See, this is the owned platform strategy that makes your business impossible to forget. I was maybe 6 or 7 years old the first time I pressed my eye to a telescope on the front porch of a house in Laguna Beach. The brass was warm from the morning sun, and when I finally found the focus, the whole coastline just snapped into something close enough to you could actually touch it. You could see all the way down to Hobo Canyon from that porch. And I remember being amazed that there was something so far away that could look so close. The distance was really just a matter of having the right lens, I suppose. I didn't know it then, but that idea quietly followed me around the rest of my life. The house I was standing in belonged to O.J. Simpson. To me, it was just another house. There was a red Ferrari and a white Ferrari sitting in the garage, one for Nicole and one for O.J. And even that didn't strike me as anything unusual. When you're a kid, the world hands you whatever. And, it's just you accept it. It was just ordinary. My grandfather's place sat right across from their house on the street on Ward's Terrace in Laguna Beach, actually Victoria Beach, facing OJ's garage directly. We were neighbors. That was the whole of it. There wasn't much to it. In the mornings, my grandfather would carry his newspaper out to the porch and read it with me, and OJ would wander up and say hello, and the two of them would chew over whatever sports thing was going on and whatever was running that day. Something just like a normal neighbor. And the paper would be in front of both of them talking about whatever, and I would be off walking down off the porch to go meet with Jason, OJ's son. And the two of us would be kids, just like on bikes and going around in circles and doing whatever kids do at 5 or 6 years old. I never thought about it. It was just another Tuesday, some afternoon, and we'd be down in the sand. There were two other boys, Matt and Gunnar. Those were the Nelson twins. They lived on the house up on the bluff right above the street that crested above and dropped off towards the water. You might know the name. Matt and Gunnar Nelson were the actual Nelson twins that became rock stars later on. The ones with the long blonde hair who had real success in the 80s, that run of melodic rock. I'll admit, I have to laugh at their songs. Back then, I couldn't even imagine it. But, today, that particular flavor of nostalgia still works in the same way. Even the songs I write today for my band sometimes set themselves into that AOR world of things that you can sort of remember that never leave you. Now, their father was Ricky Nelson, and Ricky came from a lineage that, the older I get, the more genuinely amazes me. Ricky's parents were Ozzie and Harriet Nelson. Here's where the whole thing folds back on itself, the way I still find really hard to believe. Ozzie Nelson grew up only a few blocks where I'm sitting right now, in Ridgefield Park, New Jersey. The street that runs past the high school in our town is called Ozzie Nelson Way. I traveled 3,000 miles as a kid to play on a beach that was famous for his family's grandsons, let's just say. Then I came home and built my own life just a few hundred steps away from the whole story that started back many, many, many years ago. That's not a coincidence. There is a doorway into what I could actually think about what you might want to listen about why this is important. Because Ozzie Nelson wasn't just simply an entertainer. He was a pioneer. And what he pioneered was something that business owners today still haven't figured out. Ozzie understood you have to own the intellectual property of your own content. He understood that you have to produce first on a platform you control, and then you distribute it. You don't rent it on the stage. You build your own horse, your own house, your own racetrack, your own everything. You own everything that the track runs on, the concession stands, the parking lot. He was a master of diversifying his revenue streams across all these different promotional strategies that he had built before anybody else had done it. He was the first one. He actually used the adventures of Ozzie and Harriet Nelson as a launching pad and pushed his son Ricky, again, whose kids I played with on the beach, into the spotlight. And then he used that show itself as an engine to build the brand into something separate and enormous, because of that exposure. Ricky Nelson exploded. In fact, in the late 50s, there was a stretch where Ricky Nelson was charting hit after hit, and Elvis was jealous of him because he was more active in the world. He was toe-to-toe with the most famous rock star in the world and doing better. He had more hits than Elvis. Now, from this simple little family sitcom standing on the company of that, because of his father, he understood to turn up this platform and put it into many parts of the world and distribute it. That show was not a flash. It ran for 14 years. It was the literally exact same thing as The Simpsons did in our days today. Unimaginable to go for that many years. Ozzy negotiated something almost unimaginable at that time. It was a 10-year contract with a network for distribution, hammered out in the early 50s when television was just really beginning. Nobody really even knew what that would mean because it was so infinitesimal. Most important of all, he knew exactly who they were talking to. They knew exactly the demographic they would work with. They knew the characters, the stories, the precise traits that would keep the audience coming back week after week for 14 years. Now sit with that for a second. Imagine if you did the same thing with your business. Imagine if you had a show like this, what you're watching, built specifically for the audience. Maybe some guests, a clear strategy, weekly or monthly window where your customers get to step into your world and listen to what you're talking about, maybe understand the solutions that you offer, the things that generally make your business and their life busier or better. And imagine that for 14 years. What do you think that would happen to your wealth if you did that? How many people would know you? How many people would know about you? The distribution, your reach, your ability to support and scale all the things that you could help people build. And here's the part that's really weird, and it gets to me. We have more tools now to do this than Ozzy Nelson ever could have had, ever could have even dreamed of. We have affiliates, social platforms, distribution points, stacked on top of distribution points. We have most business owners out there that use none of it. A post here, a post there, maybe a scattered occasion little forgettable piece of AI content that they've dribbled in. Almost nobody's building the actual thing that's an owned platform, the recurring show, the world, the people, the things that you could do, who could come back and see you again on purpose because they're interested in what you're talking about. But imagine your own reality show, people stepping into a world that's on a regular basis by choice because it's something that they want to actually learn about or watch or get some value out of. Just like the first family, these Nelsons, you have to be seen to be heard. So let me put this question to you. It's been turning over in myself as well. What are you doing for your business right now to be seen that you can finally say, I'm going to be heard? I bet you not much. See, the lesson learned here is visibility is not luck. It's not noise. It's a structure you build on the ground. The families who lasted through 14 years are the ones who turned these single moments of decades of content into characters and spotlights and made millions, if probably not billions at this point with the amount of reruns. Now, they produced their own content. They own their own platform, and they gave their audience the real reason to come back on a schedule. See, the distance of where your product is and what you're doing right now between you and your customer is usually just the fact that it needs to be out there somewhere where they are using the content, and that's on their phone every day. You don't need to borrow other people's content. You don't need to make stuff up. You just need to start talking. And the only important thing that really matters here is you're building your name. You're building your structure, your deeds out there. And if you want to read about this, if you want to hear more about this, well, the best thing to do is to continue watching, because this is what I talk about. I talk about how important it is to put your hand up and make a difference in your life. In fact, the simple thing of just trying to solve these problems isn't done by listening to me. It's done by doing the actions. Now, we put out over 1,000 pieces of content per month. It keeps me busy. I have people who find me, who recommend me, who say, I know who he is. You should see what he talked about the other day. I have people who come back to me and say, I've been listening to you, and I want to do what you're talking about on that whatever episode. Now, that's why I'm saying it's the work we love to do. It's the work I like to walk through people with and make sure they understand what they're going to get, because they're going to get a new experience. They're actually going to get something that's solvable that brings their business into the forefront. So if you need help, let us know, and we'll build a show for you. We've done it so many times now, it becomes actually rudimentary, and it's very easy. You record, or we record you, and then we put it into distribution, and we put it on your website, we put it on your social media feeds, we put it into podcast land, which is 15 different things like Amazon and Amazon's cousin, Apple, and all the different podcast vehicles that are out there. And then that gets into national distribution. And then guess what happens? AI actually starts to recognize you as someone who's important because you're actually putting out a radar, bleep, bleep, bleep. I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. This is what I do. This is what I do. So many clients that we've talked to say they can't believe they got 10,000 views on whatever video. And now people walk into their shops or they walk into their offices and they say, I saw you on X or Y or Z. These are the things that are changing lives. It's just going to get more harder if you stop and don't do it, right? If you do it, if you start thinking about it, 14 years from now, if you did episodes every single day, where would your business be? Think about that. It's hard to even imagine. These are the things that happened in the real world back in the day with television, where there was only one distribution channel. Now we have literally hundreds, and you can be in every one of them. And it doesn't cost a lot of money, and it doesn't take a lot of effort. So think about it. Put your hand up and ask us if you need some help. We're here. We don't bite.